100 bugs, and I've got good old Mojo here with me. Hey, mate.
Hello.
So, we're under 100 bugs. And
Yeah, apparently.
on their forums, there's only 55 active bug reports, which as far as just about any other dev is ever concerned, that is past ready for stable. That's sort of the point where we ignore the bugs from now on, isn't it?
Yeah, like you compare it with Prison Architect. Like if they were under 1,000 bugs, I consider that stable.
Yeah, and then they add stuff like multiplayer after the fact that the game was never designed for, and yeah. So yeah, they're under 100 bugs. They haven't declared it stable yet because they're not actually they're not using the bug reports to mark it for stable. They're actually using it, they're actually wanting to add the new player experience for them to mark it as the first stable and push it to Steam as their first stable release for 17. And that's why the very first graph we've got here is the count of players on Steam as the left axis and number of 17 crashes. And as you can see, they're fairly well correlated.
Yeah.
Not exactly perfect, but close.
What was the one that was in June? Early June. I've forgotten what it is now. Was that the train one?
Yes.
That's it, yeah. It's the chain signal one.
Yeah, where trains just suddenly broke.
Yeah, you deconstructed a chain signal when the train had reserved it. It crashed. I think that was it.
Something like that. So yeah, we've got players versus crash reports, and then we also have pretty much the exact same graph, except this is since the 17 release outright. And as you can see, players on Steam went through the roof just after 17 sort of came out, and the crash reports also went way up.
The crash reports came rolling in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the one I was looking at, which was the last spike. You see the crash reports go down, 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 and it sort of settles down to almost where it is now, and then suddenly, boom, through the roof.
Yeah, they're those times where they've added something and there's been a small bug in the code that's just blown the crash reports through the roof. But you can see that the last one, which is when they were playing with trains, crashes went way up again.
And you see in the latest release, what's that, 1755, 54, something like that?
I don't know. I've stopped reading I've stopped reading the change log, to be honest. It's really interesting for the first 20. It's semi-important for the next 10. From 30 to 40, it's just like, good going, guys.
56.
Once we get past 40, it's like, okay, they've got a new version. Woohoo!
It's now the highest number of versions ever. I mean, we exceeded 52.
All I know is 54 or 55. They added a new interface and it's part of the Gridlock cluster that's going on this weekend, where you can.
What that's about?
Yeah, you can click an icon or a GUI in the game server, and actually go join a different server, or from in-game. It says, you get a pop-up, do you wish to join this server? Okay or cancel? Done. Which is a really nice feature if you've got something like a Factorio event where you've got multiple servers working together.
So that's just to help with joining different servers on Factorio, right?
Yeah, but also the other community servers like Explosive Gaming, Red New, Comfy, that run multiple different servers with different.
Really handy for them.
Yeah, different game formats. It's a really good idea because they can now list all their servers up the top left-hand corner. And if you're bored of biter battles and you want to go play, I'm going to end up using the wrong.
Do you remember those?
The wrong group. Yep.
What was it? It was a Minecraft thing.
Nope. He said Minecraft. I never played Minecraft. Ever.
This was the reason why Minecraft changed their privacy policy in their thing, because there used to be all these multiplayer servers, and they were like there were these massive hub worlds for different mini games.
Oh, okay.
And Minecraft changed their policy at some point, and it upset a lot of people. I just can't remember the name of them now. They used to do all these kinds of mini games. The problem was that some of them were selling like premium access externally.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was becoming a huge problem.
Happening in Minecraft.
Kinda.
Like
I think it's. coming back again.
I've heard on the interwebs about all these supposed YouTube creators that have all this premium Minecraft crap that they charge their members, etc., to get premium access to, that have loot boxes. It's
third party Minecraft loot boxes is the thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So,
and this was on these multiplayer servers.
Yep, I avoided this game. Not playing with that game. Yep. Anyway, so Factorio crashes. Players. Yep, players are slowly going down.
As it does whenever there's a release. There's also no loot boxes here.
Very important. Very important. Because it spikes. Factorio spikes up every weekend. So this is about a week's worth in each spike. Spike to Valley. But yeah, with the team on vacation, because of course it's the middle of winter here in Australia, but it means it's the middle of summer for everybody in Europe, which means they're all going away on holidays. Lucky them.
They're all sunbathing, and everyone actually school holidays here, so everyone's off at this. Fantastic.
Yep, I was sunbathing 2 days ago. It was warm enough to sunbathe 2 days ago. It's not today. It wasn't 2 days before that, but yeah, 2 days ago it was.
There's something for everyone to have a mental picture of as JD sunbathing.
Yeah, I was hanging washing on the line, and I got sunburnt in about an hour and a half. In the middle of winter. How does that even
happen in winter?
It's Australia.
Yeah, that's true.
It's Australia. Like, I live further north than you do. Trust me, I get sunburnt in the middle of winter, and I'm not pasty white. I'm just mostly white. But yeah. So anyway, on with the Friday facts. Sidetracked already. So,
I'll do my best.
Yeah, we to do our best to the Friday facts, we'll get sidetracked. So their milestone is actually the implementation of the new introductory campaign graphics, which were covered 2 weeks ago, actually being in the game, and that's when they're going to declare 17 stable.
What does that mean? We get the new chemical plant in the stable?
I would hope so.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. Now I come to think of it.
In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what the FFF for that one said, was that they were going to introduce it before stable.
Yeah, well, see, the very next paragraph is, we've been asked a few times when stable was released, but my question is, why does it exactly matter which version we call stable? Why are you waiting for stable to play a new playthrough? Stable is only going to be the first stable, because they did this with 15, I want to say, and 16. They had a few different stable versions.
Yeah, only it wasn't quite as well defined. But they want to reduce down, instead of having major versions, they want to reduce it down to multiple incremental stables.
Yep, so the plan is to have a stable.
Finally.
And then after we have a stable, which is actually waiting on the GUI graphics and the scenario, and everybody's away on holidays, so it's not going to happen anytime soon, after they get a stable, they're then going to add in the new graphics, maybe new features, different new bits and pieces, which will introduce new bugs, which will bring a new experimental version, with new patches, with new updates, and then they'll go for another stable after that. So 17 is going to be the first time we're definitely going to have multiple stages of stable.
Hello, my friend.
Yeah, that's going to be the center
point.
point.
Stay a while and listen.
Thing that we've always dreamed of, or at least I've dreamed of, that was always a talk way back in like 2016, 2017, was just getting multiple stables out, or multiple incremental releases out.
Yeah.
So it's something they're finally getting around to doing.
It's something they're getting around to doing, and it's a bit past time, put it politely. It'll be nice to have, like, stables all well and good, and look, I don't care whether it goes stable next version or 10 versions from now. My current Rocket Per Minute base series is running on version 50, and every time I open it, it tells me I'm out of date. And it's like, I look at the time, I'm like, do I have enough time to spend 10 minutes updating this or not before recording? I don't? Fine. We'll do that later. And later sometimes ends up being 15 versions behind. That's fine.
Give it a day and you will be 15 versions behind.
Sometimes. But yeah, so they're still playing with bug fixes. In the meantime, Covrex has been dealing with this train user error.
I'm calling this a user error because it's a combination that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there is no point to put two chain signals opposite one another on a
loop.
It's not even a loop. It doesn't go around the circle.
It's a runaround.
It doesn't come back upon itself. So yeah, a runaround, it's not even a siding.
Like, what are you putting the signals there for? I mean, the thing I was saying just before was that if you want to store a train in there, you have the signals on the inside. That way, it can use a chain to look further down for something else. But like as it is, those signals don't do anything. There's no reason for them to be there. That's
Yeah.
the only thing you can do is just say user error.
Yeah.
Please build properly.
Yeah. It's really pointless. And this particular error, which I'm willing to bet, is either it's just an example and they've just made the quickest, easiest, dirtiest example of the issue, and this is what they've come up with.
Well, somebody would have built that, otherwise it wouldn't have come up.
Or somebody's built it. Yeah, is the cause of the issue with the segment has both an incoming and outgoing signal at the same position, which is basically exactly what's on screen. And the fact that it took 3 hours to fix probably means that either the only thing I can assume is they've written a custom rule for exactly this situation.
It does lead to an interesting situation where you start having all these rules, all these different combinations. You start accumulating this massive list of all these rules, and it could become a burden in the future.
Yeah, special. I want to say special use
edge cases.
Edge cases. That's the word I'm looking for. Which is take the train off the track, smack the person who built this over the head with the train, and then send them on their way. Don't tell them never to build like this again. Anyway, that's my answer to this whole situation.
That's a good answer. Well, the other thing is, instead of taking the train off the track, accelerate the train to maximum velocity and then place the person who built it on the track.
Oh, exterm style. Okay, yeah. I like it. But that brings us on to the second half of the Friday Facts, which is G2A is worse than piracy.
It's a bold statement.
It's a bold statement, and this has come up. I watch Sid Alpha. Okay, Sid Alpha covers.
Him.
Yeah, he covers news stuff like this in YouTube. Nice, easy video format. Covers a lot of big stories, little stories, that sort of stuff. And G2A came up with him, and it's also come up mainly because of some comments some people made on Twitter. So Mike Rose of No More Robots sent a follow-up tweet. If you're going to buy a game from G2A, just pirate it instead, genuinely. And in Friday Facts, both 145 and 171, Woob has talked about grey markets and Factorio in the past, and their answer is pretty much the same. Go pirate it instead, because if you pirate a copy of Factorio, it costs the devs nothing. If you buy it from a grey market and then they get hit with a chargeback, it actually costs them money. Basically, what you would have bought Factorio from Woob for, they end up paying to the credit card company because of a chargeback, which really starts to add up. They have
there's some numbers down here.
There's
somewhere.
some numbers down here. 300 Steam keys with a chargeback fee of $20 each means they paid out $6,000 worth of chargebacks.
Yeah.
Which is slightly expensive. So yeah. After after the news broke, G2A, who was doing all sorts of bad things, they do not have a terribly good reputation, vowed to pay back devs 10 times the money they've proven to be lost on chargebacks. After reading it through, whoever this was, I don't even know who wrote it. I'm guessing Covrex? No, we don't know. Oh, no, Clonan.
Community manager, so Clonan.
Yeah, Clonan decided to take them up on the offer.
The Clonan stuff.
So he emailed them about their vow last week, and they're not exactly prompt in terms of dealing with the request. I list all the Steam keys I had to revoke because I purchased fraudulently, and G2A offered to check these keys. Currently, that's where the story ends, as they haven't replied to my email 2 days ago, saying Melissa asked them how many of them were sold on the website. which should just be a matter of like bulk check web page. It's not hard. Every single key is indexed. Is it? Yes. I haven't bought from G2A, but I have bought from like their sister site, Kingham. And every key I've bought from them, which like they're basically a grey market. The way they sell themselves is it's like if you buy a game on Steam or you get a game from a Humble Bundle or something like that, and you don't want the key, you can turn around and sell them on these sites. And that's a great idea in theory. The problem is people get a credit card and then they go run up hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of Steam keys and this sort of stuff, and they turn around and sell them on grey markets for $5 below the asking price, maybe, and that's enough to get a key sold. And then, who knows? You know, your key that you bought from a grey website may get revoked, it may not. I guess I'm lucky in saying I've never had any revoked ever. They've all worked. But, you know, I don't buy big hit AAA games at half the normal price because the deal is too good to be true. Because if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Have you bought? That's actually a good point there. Have you bought any that were considerably below normal price?
No,
yeah, that would be why you've been buying the premium ones, so they're probably more likely to be legitimate.
Yeah, they're all at like 80% of normal price. They're 9 times out of 10. Somebody's bought something, and this is covered further down the Friday Facts. Is somebody's bought something on sale, and they've bought something on sale at say a Steam sale, 60% off, and they're hoping to sell it for what? Well, they've bought it for 40% off. They're hoping to sell it for 20% off normal recommended retail price. And they make the money in that 20%, which is fine by me because I'm getting a game that has been on sale for extremely cheap at one time. And then I'm paying a ridiculously high price because I chose to. Well, I found out about the game during a time it wasn't on sale and didn't want to wait 6 months for a Steam sale because, let's be honest, Steam sales are all the time now. In the past, Mojo can agree with me here. In the past, you used to go down to the game store, and if the game had been sitting on the shelf for 12 months, it'd be half normal price.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that actually reminds me of a funny story. Do you want an anecdote?
Sure.
Yeah, you do. You know EB Games?
Yes.
They quite often do this thing, 2 for $50.
Yeah.
And I found one game which was priced as $50.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the other one was free.
There you go. Right. Retail stores dump the price on their games over time. Steam doesn't.
No.
And that's the thing. Like I bought in the Steam summer sale, I bought Surviving Mars. And it's 2 years old, I think. 3 years old, somewhere there. It's definitely not recent, and it was still, well, the day before the sale, it was still full price.
Well, Steam also doesn't dump prices like 75% off, 65% off like they used to back in like 2009, 2010.
Well, they used to have a gradual prices of games came down over time. Same as retail stores do. Now, prices stay at full price, and then you wait for a sale. And that's why my wish list gets massive, and then summer sales come around, have done for years, and I end up spending $300 on games, and then 6 months later have nothing to play, because the games I bought on sale turned out I really didn't want, and I was sort of grabbing them because they were a deal, and then, yeah.
I remember getting Portal 2 for like $6 even when it was like 6 months after it was released, because it was on like 75, I think it might have been 85% off or something
ridiculous like that. Yep.
Yeah, and I actually believe that Steam doesn't do that anymore, particularly because of this speculative buying. And that's why you get games like, most games will drop by 15 to 25%. And so you get a game, I keep referring to the Colony Survival, because it's a pretty good example. It's, what is it, $25, I think?
I don't know, I haven't looked at it.
And then its sale price goes down to like 20 or 15. You look at the game, you're like, you know what? I reckon that is what it's actually worth. What's that other game? That City Builder Kingdoms something.
Yeah, I know the one.
Multiple islands. Very voxel-arty.
Castles and Kingdoms.
Kingdoms and Castles, that's it.
There we go. I was close.
Yeah, that one's $10, and it's always, I think it's $10, and it's always 15% off. And you look at the game, and you look at the price, you know what? That's always what it should be. What it actually is worth.
There are lots of games like that it's now not come down to what's the sticker price on the game. It's like, what is that game worth? And if it's a $20 game...
How much are people willing to pay for this game?
In some cases, yeah. Like, there are lots of games I look at, and it's even how I do, like, when I'm doing a Let's Try of a game, it's like I spend a few hours playing it, and I'm like, okay, so the game's worth $40, let's say, on Steam. I give this game like a 30 out of 40. At $30 I'd buy it. At $25 I'd definitely buy it. At $35, probably not. Because it's only worth like $30 out of $40 or $7 out of $10 or whatever the game happens to be selling for on the normal pricing.
Speaking of, Slime Ranch is 50% off right now, which is funny because it was free on the Epic Store.
It was free on the Epic Store, like last week.
Because I missed it when I was on the Epic Store.
Oh, bad mojo. Anyway, so back to the Friday facts, because we got completely sidetracked again. So yeah, Weeb's waiting to hear back from G2A to check to see if any of their keys...
Oh yeah, they're totally going to check to see if they're legit or not.
And then Clonan's listed a whole bunch of emails they've got from different people who bought the keys from G2A. And when Clonan revoked them, funnily enough, these people contacted Weeb and said, hey, I've got an issue. Which probably means every single one of them also went through G2A's customer support.
Yes, because he's got a person that specifically quoted G2A. You know what? I reckon he emailed just the keys that are gone to G2A just to test them. That's what I'd do. And if they say, oh yeah, this one isn't and this one isn't, then you know they're lying.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether you get a whole... Whether any of these people actually had, answered Clonan with what was your key and provided him the key. Anyway, look, G2A has buyer protection, all that sort of stuff, and maybe they got refunded if they're going to pay the premium for buyer protection. I know Kingham has the same. And that's the thing, if I buy a game for $5 on their page, I can pay $3 worth of buyer's protection. And you just look at the game, it's like, it's $10 normally, I'm getting it at $5 instead, but after I pay $3 worth of buyer protection for a maybe dodgy key, or maybe somebody's selling it on the cheap to get rid of it, is it worth it? Nah, not really. I'll just pay the full $10 price. Anyway, since then, Weeb hasn't had any problems because they went and changed over to the Humble widget, which handles all their purchases for Factorio, which is one of the reasons Factorio is actually listed on the Humble store. And I looked it up yesterday, and the price on Steam and the price on Humble's actually like 60 cents more expensive in Australian because of regional pricing. Which is one of the ways you might get a legit copy on a place like G2A. When it comes to Factorio, at least, is the European pricing and the US pricing is slightly different after you account for real-world conversions versus Steam fixed price conversion, I guess, is probably the best way of putting it.
Well, the developers have to put in the different regional pricing manually.
Yes, they do. So
it's whatever the conversion rate was at the time they put it in.
Yeah. So currently on Humble, which I believe has a dynamic pricing as far as the conversions concerned. So it's $42.90 something cents on Humble for Factorio. On the Steam store, it's $42 neat. So it's like an extra 60-90 cents on the Humble store. But I've looked at other times that it's been cheaper on the Humble store than it is on Steam, just because of that weird regional pricing, how it goes sometimes up, sometimes down. But yeah, it's slightly cheaper in US dollars to buy a European version of Factorio, which may mean when it's gifted to your Steam account, you can only play it in Europe, because that's one of the things Steam has started doing to get around regional pricing and people buying stuff at a regional price. Because if you buy stuff in Russian rubles, all games are really, really cheap, but they only work in Russia. You've been warned.
Yeah, that was Is that? We were trying to work that as a thing before. I'm pretty sure it's a thing now. Like,
Oh,
right
it
down.
definitely is. There are some games, not all games, are clearly marked as no. This will only work in Russia, in India, in this country listed here, because they're a regionally locked version of the game. Not all games are like that, but some definitely are. The other way that you might find a cheap copy of Factorio is if somebody bought a copy before the price hike. Because we all knew the price hike was coming. They announced it on the Friday Facts a week or two prior. So anybody who wanted to grab a copy could grab a copy. And yes, Clonon has the point. If you bought 1,000 copies and waited 1 year to sell them all off, you would have made $5 per copy, being $5,000 in theory.
In theory, yeah.
It's not bad gains for a year's worth of sitting on the money if you sell all 1,000 copies.
Yeah, but at the same time, $6,000 for a year's effort. I don't know if there's really that much payoff in it. You'd have to have a very significant operation to get anything out of that.
You would. You'd have to have a lot of capital, and
yeah, and that means you just got to have a huge amount of what would you call it? Inventory. You just have this big block that's consuming money, not doing anything.
Yeah, a whole lot of capital that can sit there, and it still gives the case of you have to hope that you sell all 1,000 copies. You might buy a game that, maybe the developers go left rather than going right, and the popularity of the game goes down the drain. Because I've seen devs do that. They've made a sudden left turn, and their games just sort of disappeared in obscurity because what they did the community didn't agree with, and you just don't know. Which
could be
really
one of those.
risk.
I see. So a few like multiplayer games where the community died off, and because less activity means less people want to play because there's less activity, and it just spirals out and fizzles.
Yeah. So, Woob's official answer is, we strongly recommend people buy from us or one of the official partners, not for the reasons you might think. You can buy from Grain Market and still have a problem with the game, or if something goes wrong, you have to deal with their support system. I don't have the exact details of how to request a refund or a customer support from G28. You can. I've seen stories. It's not pleasant. Or how long they would take to respond to requests.
That's the thing with Grain Marketplaces. They don't want refunds.
They don't want to give you a refund, and they don't want to. The support you're dealing with is not the seller. It's the middleman, and it's like dealing with people like dealing with eBay.
Yes, that's a good one.
Really good at it. I do have to admit, eBay is a lot better than they used to be, but eBay's just the middleman. Like they don't actually have the product. They can't solve your request or anything else like that. And you have to keep dealing with the middleman. And now at least eBay, you're actually dealing via the eBay platform with the seller. Places like G28, no, you're dealing with the middleman who's then contacting the seller, who's then getting back to you. It's a whole nightmare. But yeah, on top of that, Woob actually offers a 28-day refund policy, which I didn't even know about.
Yeah, and that's actually more than what most, if not all, game storefronts.
Well, Steam has to offer 7 days now, or I believe it's 7 or 14.
7 days, but I think there's also 2 hours time limit on the game.
There's a 2 hour. You have to play the game for less than 2 hours and refund within 7 days. And that has to do with Australian consumer law, because they were selling games illegally in Australia for years, and actually got taken to Supreme Court here in Australia about it, and then made a very, very, very polite, we've decided, the great gods at Steam have decided that we're going to offer you refunds for all your games if you have a problem, rather than in the past it was like, no, bad luck, stiff shit, we don't care. It was basically because, they got sued into oblivion in Australia and had to offer it, and therefore decided to offer it right across the board, with the provisos of within 7 days, less than 2 hours gameplay. Which is sometimes really difficult to do, to actually get in, play a game, and decide whether you like it or not within 2 hours. But Woo, 28 days. 28 days, play it for as much as you want, which in theory means you can finish the game a couple of times over and then do the refund.
Oh, yeah.
providing you've slept in the last 28 days. Because
I mean, you can even then. If you slept, when you refund, you can keep an installed copy of the game and keep playing it as long as you don't go online. It still works.
Technically, yeah. Your account login wouldn't work, so you couldn't play multiplayer, but you could play single player to your heart's content.
You'd be locked to that version though.
Yes.
Because you wouldn't update.
And you couldn't download mods, or can you?
Oh no, you can't. You need to be logged in to use the mod portal. Yeah. So they set it up so that you can't use any online service. Online services includes multiplayer mods, content updates.
Yeah, Mojo's got a point. Like, we all know, chances are, if you've listened to this video, especially if you listen to 30 minutes into it, chances are you own a copy of Factorio. But technically, yeah, you could have an offline copy that you held on to for a couple of years, which, look, that's how I got stuck into Factorio in the first place. I had a mate came over, he installed his copy that he downloaded from the Factorio webpage on the PC, which I played for a little while and then left and then came back 2 months later after we had a couple of updates. And then I bought the game, started playing multiplayer because I had to, for exactly the reason Mojo said, I had to buy the game to play multiplayer. And then I fell into the Factorio Addict Club and lost 10,000 hours of my life. Yeah. But that's pretty much it for this Friday Facts. But I do want to add one side note. Although we're already probably way too long, I do want to add one side note. So we're down to 55 active bugs. And last week, they spent a lot of time on the mega packet fixing that, which you actually said that it was 400 ticks, 600 ticks, whatever it happens to be, worth of data they'd send, which we worked out was like 6.5 seconds worth of being behind. And realistically, the quickest and easiest bug fix for that would be, don't let you time out for up to 400 ticks. Time you out for up to 200 ticks, and if you don't catch up in 200 ticks, you get dropped and you have to rejoin. That would be the quickest and easiest dirty hack fix for that particular bug. And I'm pretty sure the last 55 active bugs they could do probably same dirty hacks on, or just ignore them entirely and call it good enough.
Yeah, as we said, as we were alluding to before, like prison architect?
Prison architect, oxygen not included. There's a long, very, very long list.
Just insert any small sort of early access game. Name an early access game, and they're probably like,
yeah. Look, even name AAA games, like they're all like that. But it actually got me thinking after last week's Friday Facts. I actually think they're putting in the extra time and the effort rather than just a quick hack fix, because they actually want to keep the Factorio engine for whatever's next. Because we're getting towards the end of Factorio.
Yeah, actually, you're leading on to something that Clonan said further up, which was technical debt.
Mm-hmm.
So your hacky solutions, halfback solutions, just to fix the bug, get it out of the way, they start to add up as technical debt, which you have to pay back your debt eventually. Technical, just like regular money debt, technical debt you have to pay back eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, well, at the end of the day, the Factorio engine is an incredibly robust, deterministic multiplayer engine and over elaborate lure interpreter. So it's actually very powerful.
It is, and it's been mentioned in previous Friday Facts about how they've seen different games modded into Factorio. We've seen Arrow My Gluteus Maximus do. He did. What was that? Flappy Bird? He did Flappy Bird inside Factorio. He did, which was all done with, I want to say combinators in that one, or maybe that was actually a mod that GUI'd the whole thing in. He's done in combinators lots and lots and lots of different...
Oh, they're in combinators, but
Wolfenstein.
Imagine if you used the raw lure in the engine, from the engine.
I think the Flappy Bird one was raw lure. I want to say, I'm not sure. But he's done lots of different things inside the Factorio engine. And that's like Factorio previous Friday Facts, I think it was number 300. Kovarex said it had been 7 years.
Yeah.
And
we've got for a long time.
We've got, call it best case or worst case scenario, best case scenario. It all depends what side of the bridge you're standing on. We've got a year left of Factorio before it's done and dusted. And yes, there's always chance of DLCs and all that sort of stuff. But what comes next? And there's a large team now. Like, going back to Friday Facts 300, there's a fairly significant team now that handles all of Factorio, and they all want a job past a year from now. They want to be able to do something and show up to work and get paid. So obviously there's got to be another project, and the choices are start on a whole new something out of left field, which is perfectly fine. It could be something awesome, which may require a whole new engine to be built and who knows what, which could lead to another 8-year development cycle. Or they could be trying to really get every single bug out of this engine so it is perfect, and then use the engine to do something next. And
yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, we have to wait and see, but I honestly think that's why they're spending the time and the effort right now into putting in, something, getting every bug fixed now to do something next. But I don't know what it is, and I don't know how adaptable I guess the engine would be, because I've only ever seen it as Factorio, and you don't want to do something that looks and feels Factorio for whatever comes next. But you do want to have some of that core elements of Factorio brought across into whatever happens next as well. Take the things that attract the players from Factorio and bring it to the next game, but then have something different enough that it doesn't feel like the same game for a second time. I think that's the best description.
Add a third dimension?
Yeah, add a third dimension. That was actually the number one comment that came up on my Discord. Add a third dimension. Factorio really needs a third dimension. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's coming next. Well, you and I both play Oxygen Not Included, which is what would you call it?
Ant colony simulator?
Yeah, but it's all side scroller based. Whereas
yeah, it's 2-dimensional, but it's a different angle.
It is 2-dimensional. It's a different angle. It's side on, but they're what's the other the games they've done in the past? In the Dark.
Don't Starve Together.
Yeah, which was all they were Factorio style. They were all this sort of 3/4 45 perspective, top down, 3D semi-environment worlds. And I don't know if like the Factorio engine could go from this what we have now to
You'd have to rebuild a render engine to do that.
They've just done a render engine conveniently.
But then again, if the engine was modular enough, they could pop out the current 2D engine and put in completely different. Still got the Allure interpreter and the multiplayer synchronization. Yeah. So there are options, there are things. But yeah, I just want to add that at the end because it was an afterthought from last week's Friday Facts. After I was watching the video when it went out live on YouTube. Hi everybody who's watching on YouTube now. Hopefully I'm sitting down in the comments, sitting down in the live chat, also chatting at the same time. But yeah, it was just an afterthought that came up, and it's something I want to add into this week's because I'm curious and also dreading whatever comes next because I don't know if I can use... It's not Factorio?
Well, it's not Factorio. I don't know if I can lose another 10,000 hours to another game.
Sure you can.
Yeah, sure I can. Thanks. It was 10,000 hours over many, many years. So, the next game... If I start playing the next game, maybe I don't have time for Factorio anymore. The tragedy.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Anyway.
So much more tragedy.
Anyway, I think that'll do us for
we're
3 or 3.
well and truly done.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.